All right. So the goal for tonight, we're going to talk about uh, low blocks from a line of scrimmage perspective. Um, so the for flow of this for this conversation, and AJ Haddock will be joining me later. One of the things is I do have some video streaming, so if your camera is on, as I'm going to do, go ahead and turn your camera off. That's going to help the video feed, especially in the upload as we go. So the topics and the agenda for tonight kind of refresh everybody's memory on the two key things that relates to low blocks, because we're talking about all kinds of low blocks tonight: blocking below the waist, clipping, and chop blocks. Talk a little bit about the phrasing and the differences between the blocking zone and the tackle box. Get into the varieties of legal and illegal blocking below the waist, who's restricted and unrestricted for A, what can B players do. Talk a little bit about the 5-yard limit, then get into changes of possession and kick plays. We'll talk about clipping, and specifically, we're going to deal with the clipping as it relates to Team A linemen, and then we'll talk about chop blocks. Now, the thing to remember about this whole presentation is this is really focused on what line of scrimmage officials see. If you're not a line of scrimmage official and you want to talk about something in one of the plays that I bring up, don't hesitate to just shout out, and we'll stop and we'll chat. I can't really see anybody right now because not only are your cameras off, but also because I'm optimizing video, I can't see anybody at all right now. So if you have a point that you want to make or something you want to talk about, don't hesitate to speak up. But we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So the two important categories, or the two important kind of areas on the field to be mindful of as we're talking about blocking below the waist and clips and chop blocks, are the blocking zone and the tackle box. And as a refresher, the blocking zone is a rectangle centered on the middle lineman of the offensive formation that's 10 yards by 6. This blocking zone is important relative to who can legally clip versus block in the back. Whereas the tackle box is a rectangle centered on the snapper that extends 5 yards on each side of the snapper and goes from the line of scrimmage all the way to A's end line. And that's important relative to which A lineman can legally block below the waist from the front or side. Now, there's always going to be some amount of overlap between the blocking zone and the tackle box, but they're not the same, and their center point's not necessarily the same. You know, if we have an unbalanced line, the middle lineman of the offensive formation might be a guard, whereas in a tackle box situation, the snapper is the snapper. So those are things to be mindful of. Areas where they are common is that both the blocking zone and the tackle box disintegrate whenever the ball leaves either the zone or the box. So these areas cease to exist when the ball heads outside of the zone or the tackle box. So let's talk a little bit about blocking below the waist. Remember that as long as the ball and the block are inside the tackle box, unrestricted A linemen can block below the waist, including the front or side. And we're talking about unrestricted A linemen. Who are we dealing with? We're primarily dealing with tackles, centers, snappers, and guards. Those are generally our unrestricted A linemen. I know the terminology has changed a little bit over the years, but that's kind of the thing to be really mindful of here. Additionally, all other A players and everybody on the field, once the ball leaves the box, have to block below the waist from the front. So, you know, if you look at the clock face region here on the screen, you know, when we talk about the side, we're really talking about from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. But the rule book states pretty clearly that a block from the front is 10 to 2. So everybody's going to be fine within the other limits in the rule that we're going to talk about as we go right there. All B players have to block below the waist from the front. They no longer, as of a couple of years ago, they are no longer permitted to block below the waist from the side. And additionally, lost a thing there. Must be coming up later. So some things to keep in mind here. Philosophy indicates that even though the tackle box ends at the line of scrimmage, unrestricted linemen can block low against B players right at the line of scrimmage. But if an A lineman fires out and blocks low against second level B players, then the block has to be directed from the front and can't be blocked back towards the original spot of the snap. If either of those provisions are violated, it's going to be a foul. Remember that A players who are outside the tackle box at the snap, in motion at the snap, or who have left the tackle box are prohibited from blocking below the waist toward the original position of the ball. And once the ball leaves the tackle box, an A player is prohibited from blocking below the waist towards his own end line. So all of those actions would be illegal once the ball leaves the box. B players are always permitted to block the ball carrier below the waist, but they are restricted from blocking an opponent in a position to receive a backward pass below the waist, and they can't block eligible receivers below the waist beyond the neutral zone until legal forward pass is no longer possible by rule. Another thing that's important to remember is that stationary backs inside the tackle box can block back toward the original position of the ball, but it still has to be from the front. So they are still restricted as it relates to 10-2, but they can block back toward the original position of the ball. As line of scrimmage officials, mechanically, we should be alert for players who are moving back toward the original position of the ball so that we can observe contact with the defender. When our initial responsibilities make that move immediately, that's when our antenna should go up and they should really kind of draw our attention. Any questions about any of that stuff so far? Okay, so let's flip over to the video. Is everybody looking at a play on their screen?
Yep.
Great. So this play in particular, we're going to take a look at the right tackle. I've got him called out there with the yellow arrow. What he's going to do is he's going to go about a yard downfield and throw a low block against a linebacker. Since he left the tackle box, the low block has to be from the front and can't be back toward the original position of the ball. So let's take a look at where he's going to go. So you're going to see him go to the second level on a linebacker, cut back toward the original position of the ball. The headline judge at the top of the screen is all over this play because his initial responsibility happens to be the running back based on the formation, and there's no threat to him, so he can stay a little longer with the tackle. Skip ahead to the coach's tape here. You can see him get low, maybe from the front, probably from the side, but also back toward the original position of the ball. And here we're looking at the tackle on the left of the screen, just on from the end zone. You can see him cut 31 there. Any questions or thoughts on that play? Okay. This play, we're going to take a look at the tight end. Remember that since the tight end is not inside the tackle box, he's automatically a restricted A player and has to block from the front and cannot block back toward the original position of the ball. This is a common place. The tight ends are players that we get for fouls like this with relative frequency if they try to go low on a defensive lineman. You're going to see him try to go low on the defensive end. Since he's out of the box, as soon as he goes in and down, he's gonna foul if he makes contact low. So not only does he go low and he's not from the front, he also blocks back toward the original position of the ball. As a result of that, the line judge at the top of the screen picks up the action since his initial responsibility has no threat, and he gets the foul. Skip on ahead to the coach's tape here. And you can see here coach's tape again, dealing with the tight end on the right side of the formation. Just going to get down in front of that defensive end. So good one to get on line of scrimmage. Questions about this play? All right. On this play, we're going to take a look at the line, or at the whiteout at the bottom of the screen in front of the line judge. This is F's key, but if you take a look at the formation, we've got trips away, right? Got tight end and two split to the top of the screen, which means that the key for the line judge here is the back. And depending upon how this player moves and where he's going, the line judge may be able to pick this up. So at the snap, what's going to happen to this guy is he's going to cut in towards the main defensive formation here. And you can see right here he's settling up to be ready to cut this player here, the safety that came up to try to make the tackle. So when he does that, the line judge, his back's not really threatened, so the line judge can pick that up sometimes. Hopefully the field judge is down on that also, with it being his key coming in. but he blocks low back toward the original position of the ball. He's not from the front. So that's a good pickup. That's a good pickup by the officials at the bottom of the screen. Skip ahead and you can see him coming in and just takes the feet out from 15 there or from the end zone view. That flag happens to come in from the back judge, I think, but you know, that's a play and a spot on the field where we could have potentially 3 flags based on who could be looking there. Any questions on that play?
Nick, sorry, I came in just a little bit late, so you may have already talked about it, but kind of like with blindside block at the high school level, does it matter about where the defender's looking when he gets low blocked, or is it just strictly 10 and 2 from where he's facing?
That is a challenging component of the rule, I think, because it's kind of a combination of both of those things to some degree. It's really the focus of concentration for the defensive player. So if he's coming kind of laterally down the line but looking forward, we're kind of dealing more with the field of vision than necessarily the body position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought that was part of that last play. Really was, you know, the DB or linebacker, whatever he was looking in the backfield the whole time, but his body was a little bit squared up more towards the receiver. So
yeah, but don't forget the receiver can't go low back toward the position of the ball since he's outside the tackle box. So
right,
all
yeah,
parts of that
was illegal, right?
Yep. Thanks. This last play is an example of a legal low block. We're looking at the slot receiver at the top. Happens to be B's initial responsibility in this formation because we got a 2-back set. But what's going to end up happening here as the play develops, the line judge at the top of the screen, you're going to see the line judge kind of get back in the backfield to start to take a look at that potential catch, no catch. He's going to put a flag down here on this low block. But, you know, ideally, this is a good opportunity for us to have conversation as officials, because you can see this block, you know, the snap line of the scrimmage is the -45. This low block is at the -47. So it's not beyond 5 yards. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's also straight ahead. Even though the wideout himself kind of turns his body to make this low block, this is a clean block. So it would be helpful here to get an opinion from the back judge, who should be still looking at this guy, or even the field judge who might have a look at this block to potentially pull L off of this foul. But we can see why that why that action is not a foul and is instead a legal block, correct? Take a look at this from the end zone view. Hopefully we get over there fast enough. You can see that, you know, that's a pretty good example. DJ, I think, was the one that brought that question up before. The focus of this guy is still straight ahead, and even though it looks like he's kind of running diagonally out toward the numbers, that's as good straight ahead 10-2 block. Any questions about this play? Okay. Switch back over to my presentation here. Everybody looking at the PowerPoint slide?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So when we're talking about the 5-yard limit, you know, it's a different limit for each team, but the 5-yard limit is kind of the baseline. A's limit is 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage all the way back to A's end line. All right. So the block has to be legal, obviously, and meet all the conditions that we've talked about before to not be a foul in this area. But as long as that occurs anywhere in this yellowed area on the screen, it would theoretically be legal. Whereas a block thrown here at the 30, even if it was a straight ahead block, not back toward the original position of the ball, would be a foul. We sometimes have to consider, B's limit is simply a 10-yard belt centered on the football. So 5 yards downfield and 5 yards in the backfield for a legal low block. Remembering, of course, that B can always block the runner below the waist. We have to sometimes be prepared to help out our deep wings and back judges regarding the 5-yard limit. One way to do that, and this is something that I've been working on, but I've not necessarily mastered, is to put the 5-yard yard line in your head as part of your pre-snap routine. You know, I'm a headline judge. So the things I try to tell myself every play is line of scrimmage, plus 3 yards downfield for ineligibles downfield, plus 5 yards downfield for blocking below the waist. And what's the line to gain? You know, if I can tell myself, all right, first down, going, you know, 1st and 10 at 35, I'll go 35, 38, 40, 45, if I can do that. And like I said, still working on it. I'm not going to pretend like I've mastered that. But if you can start to get those things in your head, that's a really good way to start to be more helpful to your deeps, because they're not always going to have a great look as to whether a block's at 4 or 5 or 6 and may need our help. All right, let's take a look again at some more plays. We're looking back at the video again. So in this play, we are going to take a look at the action of the fullback here. I've marked the fullback with the arrow, and you can see the 5-yard limit line in red here at the minus 49 because we're snapping at the minus 44. So the fullback is going to be is going to lead block on a sweep toward the bottom of the screen. Right there, you see the low block. You know, you could contend whether is it from the front or not, but regardless of that, the block is on the plus 49, which is 2 yards beyond our limit. The line judge is looking right at that block, puts the flag down for the foul. So, you know, that's right where we should be looking as line of scrimmage guys, looking through the runner ahead of the play to that lead block. That's where our focus should be. Field judge might be able to pick that up as well. Questions on this play? All right. In this play, we are snapping the ball at the minus 42, so the minus 47 is marked there in red for the 5-yard limit. There's a correct low block called against the left guard here, marked with the blue arrow, but we're going to ignore that mostly because that's not called by a line of scrimmage guy, and it also doesn't help me illustrate the point I'm trying to make here, which I think we can all agree is the most important thing about this presentation, is me illustrating the point I'm trying to make.
Of course.
Of course. The player we should need to pay attention to here is number 7 with the yellow arrow on the defense. So here we go. He's going to come up to try to break up the lead block, and he's going to go low. That block is right at the 47. It is not flagged. And it wasn't meant to be flagged. This is a legal block because it's right at our 5-yard limit. Should probably be observed by both L and F. And again, we may have to help the deeps on yard line of a suspect block when possible, because we may either have a late flag come up or we may end up with a pickup. This block, however, is from the front and is a legal block. Skip ahead to the coach's tape here in a second. Right on the yard line, good block from the front, no flag from the line judge, no flag from the field judge. So that's a good work there by the crew to not penalize a legal block. You want to take a look at the left guard. You're going to see him go low to the second level. Number 59 there. He's going to go second level low and get the guy from the side. But that's not the line of scrimmage guy's key to pick up. That's the umpires, and the umpire does a nice job. Last play in this sequence, we're going to look at a defender who's just barely on the screen. You can kind of see his leg there at the bottom of the screen. And this is just after the snap because TV did a really terrible job of knowing when to pick up the play at the snap. Spotted snaps to minus 46, so the 5-yard limit's the plus 49-yard line. And you're going to see this as this sweep develops. This defensive back is going to realize he's overmatched by these linemen and just cut the big guy well beyond the limit. So this action's a foul. We got the H here at the bottom of the screen, you know, looking right through the ball carrier, right to that block. That's the threat out here. H does a great job picking up the block, putting the flag down, and you know, calling this penalty for an illegal block below the waist. See here the whole play on the coach's tape. You know, that's a block that might surprise you, but you know, be alert that obviously those little guys don't like to get blocked by those big guys. So might be something to be mindful of. Questions about any of those plays?
So on this last play, it
Yep.
don't matter if he blocks him in the front, it's still illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal because it's too far downfield.
Okay.
Yeah, once we're beyond 5 yards, it doesn't matter that doesn't matter that the block might otherwise be legal. If we're beyond 5 yards, it's going to be a foul.
Thank you.
We're hopefully looking at the PowerPoint slide again. Yes? Anybody? Great. So let's talk about some things that are always a foul. Things that are always a foul for illegal block below the waist, again, just like in the discussion there a minute ago, was whether the block is from the front or from the side, whatever, these blocks are always a foul to go below the waist against any player on a kick down and against any player after a change of possession. Now, any player on a kick down technically means that if the ball is kicked during the down, we could have a block that might have been legal below the waist before the kick that now becomes illegal because we have a kick. Fortunately, this doesn't come up a lot for us. And remember, of course, obviously, it's always legal to block the ball carrier before the waist or below the waist. And mechanically, as we shift into reverse mechanics, we have to keep our focus ahead of the runner when the run is to our side, or keep that really wide angle view when the run goes away from us so that we can observe those players who go low. If you do see somebody starting to go low in those circumstances, we want to make sure we stay with them so we can see if they make contact or if they just, you know, if they just totally whiff on the block. So let's take a look at some plays that illustrate those points. We looking at the video, the UNLV Northwestern video?
Yep, I'm now.
Great. So we're dealing with changes of possession on these clips. So here the player to watch is number 13 for Northwestern. That player's not on the screen, but he will be. You'll see him. He's going to try to take on an offensive lineman that's pursuing after an interception with a low block on the hash near the 30. This block right there at that instant. So that blocks a foul. Ball comes out. We got a couple of flags down for it, including one from the line judge who correctly sees that and puts a flag down on it. Skip ahead to the coach's tape here. You know, you think once we transition into reverse mechanics, right? And we're the line judge here at the bottom, we need to find the threats. And so as the play continues to develop, you know, where are my threats here? Obviously, we've got this block here. We're probably not going to look at that because that's something that should be being picked up by the field judge. But here's the area that we should be looking at. It's between about the 30 and the 35. We've got two potential engagements upcoming. We've got the guy that ends up fouling at the 30. We've got this other player currently at the 33. That's where our eyes should be because those are the threats ahead of the runner. We pick those up. We see the block, put the flag on it. Remember, you can always move your flag if you miss a spot. We're certainly not the only ones on the field that see that flag or see that foul, put the flag down, but we need to be prepared for that. Coach's tape here. And you're going to see that guy come up right here at the edge of your screen and just end up cutting two guys on that play. So we do a nice job at line of scrimmage officials picking that up. This last play in this kind of sequence deals with the quarterback after an interception. And, you know, if you think about who's most likely to block low on these interception returns, we're really dealing with the players who feel like they're overmatched, right? And that's generally going to be a small defensive back or the quarterback who's just trying to blow it up to try to cause some havoc and maybe help make a tackle on the play for a teammate potentially. So you're going to see here, after the interception, quarterback comes out, tries to take out the lead blocker, ends up taking two guys down, cuts low. You know, it's an unusual situation, those interceptions, to consider a low block against the team that threw the pass, but that's where we're at on this play. And the line judge, again, does a really nice job of finding the quarterback, looking to the threat ahead of the runner, and that's where your threat is. You know, he's going to go low on those two players right there. Questions about any of those plays? Okay. Back to the presentation. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about clipping. So any block that's not with it, you know, we've got our clock face back here again. So all these are the blocks below the waist, but any of the blocks that occur in the red area from 9 to 3 behind a player, that's where we would be considering a potential clip. So it's legal for a lineman to clip in the blocking zone above the knee as long as they don't leave the blocking zone and return and clip. All right, so those are legal clips by a lineman. You know, they could go low and clip somebody in the blocking zone as long as they stay above the knee. Any player can legally clip in an effort to get to the runner or ball that they can legally recover, and they can go below the waist to the buttocks and make that a legal clip. Also, they could do the same thing to clip when they're eligible to touch a forward pass behind the neutral zone to get to the pass. And again, they can do that to the buttocks. And everybody can clip the runner. We can pick these clips up if we sneak a peek at our tackles when they go low to watch contact at the knee. Additionally, that same philosophy regarding blocking below the waist can apply to clipping, regarding watching out for players in our area who happen to just go low, whether they catch a piece from in front or behind. You know, if it's a foul for an illegal block and it's below the waist, it's going to be 15, whether it's a block below the waist or a clip. Any questions about that stuff? All right, so let's take a look at an example clip. Hopefully we're looking at Iowa and Minnesota. Here, we're going to be looking at the tight end at the top of the screen, who happens to be H's responsibility because we're in the second half. So we got H at the top. This is a double-double. H is looking at the tight end. So you're going to see this tight end pull a little bit to the inside and happen to clip the defensive end below the knee. And the H is going to see that and throw the flag. Everybody see that? Hopefully on that angle, we'll get another look here from the coach's tape in a second. Pull that up. You'll see 38 go low. He ends up clipping a guy who has turned his back. That's a foul for a clip. It's worth noting that even if he had somehow managed to get in front of this player with this low block, it's still a foul because it would be a block below the waist back toward the original position of the ball because he's a restricted player because he's not inside the tackle box. So even though he was inside the blocking zone, he goes way low on that play. Questions here? All right. We'll head back over to the PowerPoint and talk a little bit about chop blocks. Okay, are we looking at the PowerPoint now, hopefully?
Yep.
Great. So remember, definition of a chop block, it's a high-low or low-high combo block by any two players against an opponent who isn't the runner anywhere on the field. You have a pretty good example of a chop block. And the common chop block for us as line of scrimmage officials to get is the running back and an offensive lineman there in the image. The low component is at or below the thigh. And there is no foul if the blocker's opponent initiates contact or initiates the contact. like I said, the pickup most commonly for us is whichever one of us as line of scrimmage guys is watching the running back, because he's the one that's most likely to come in and get low on somebody who's already blocking, being blocked by an offensive lineman. That's most often the line judge, because if we know balanced formations put the line judge if there's one back with that back in the backfield. Could be the H if there are trips to the line judge. So let's take a look at some example chop block plays and some videos. Hopefully we are all looking at Illinois State and Southern Illinois. Our combos here for the low block and the chop block, we're looking at the left guard and the running back, who in this formation is L's initial responsibility, because if you look at the formation, we're in the fourth quarter. We got H at the top. We got a double here. So we know H is watching the slot guy. Since we got the single back, L is on that back. You can see him go high-low on that player that's rushing there over the middle. Skip ahead here and get the coach's tape, and then we'll look at the end zone. But, often the running backs will take you right into these fouls, especially when they go against an engaged lineman. That player there trying to get the block, he ends up blocking him in. When a teammate is also engaged, there's your foul. Pretty good look here from the coach's tape end zone. All right, in this example, similar to last play, we're looking at the center and the running back. Again, the running back is L's initial responsibility, because we've got trips to H at the top of the screen. And you're going to see the running back, just the guy feels like the center's been beat, so he's just going to cut him, but the center's still technically engaged with that player. So that action, that low block action, is a foul for a chop block. And then our last play here for this evening, we're going to take a look at two linemen, which is not the most common chop block for us to get as line of scrimmage guys, but in this particular play, we're dealing with the left guard and left tackle. The H has a really good look at this formation. We got H at the bottom of the screen because we got trips to the line judge. So since H's key is the back and he's not really under threat, the H can help out with the tackle here a little bit more easily on these plays. You're going to see the left guard goes high, left tackle goes low in the defensive end. H picks up the foul for the chop block. So really good pickup, really good job to identify where I can afford to put my eyes as a headline judge. Questions about any of those plays?
Nick, on that second to last play, it kind of looked like the center pushed the defender into the running back. If the center has already pushed him and no longer making contact, would that still be a foul?
So you'd have to make sure that it's pretty clearly completely disengaged, because that could still be a chop block if he is just coming off the engagement. You're talking about, right? If maybe he was a step or two gone from that engagement, there's the potential that you would not end up with a foul. But I think in the case of this particular play, he's still engaged, so that's a foul. But yes, you can, if he's clearly not engaged anymore, then yeah, you could potentially not have a foul for a chop. Is that helpful?
It was, thank you.
Yep. So those are all of the plays and things that I have for everybody for tonight. Does anybody have any questions about any of the stuff that I've talked about?
Nick, the one where the quarterback goes low earlier on the interception,
Mhm.
could one make an argument there that he just doesn't know how to tackle when he goes early to try to get the runner because he's so close? Like, what's your perspective on that?
No, if he's going to go after the runner, he still can't go low on other players unless he's going to have to really get the runner in kind of part of the same action.
Okay.
You don't just get to go in low like a bowling ball and kind of hope it all works out.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Nick, I think one thing to remember is when in doubt, it's a foul. I know there was some discussion about, the direction that the defender's facing and so on and so forth. All that's great, but when in doubt, it's a foul. It's a safety foul. We got to make sure we get them. So if you have those borderline plays and you're not sure what to do, make it a foul.
No, Bruce brings up a really good point. Thank you, Bruce, for that. A couple of years ago, for those of us who have been doing this for a while, and that's not directed at Bruce specifically, unless he chooses to take it that way. The rule philosophy changed from if in doubt it's not a foul to if in doubt it is a foul, and that's a really good point that Bruce makes. Don't try to be too cute and too perfect on those plays. If it's close and you're not sure, you're better off putting a flag on the field. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us for this first one of these. Some other stuff I wanted to share with folks. You can see we've got some presentations coming up pretty much through mid-May. We've got people signed up for presentations. Don't be afraid to sign up and present on some topic that's important to you, or maybe pair off with somebody else in the group and present. We've had some really great presentations. This is a really good forum, I think, and I think other people here in the group could attest to really getting a good opportunity to kind of hone your presentation skills to this group and still being prepared to teach. I don't think there's anything better that's helped me over the years get more familiar with the rules than to help teach them. And I hope that those in the group who could speak to that as well. Next Tuesday at 8:00 Eastern, I'm going to lead a quiz review of MFOA 1, 2, and 3. Somebody brought up to me yesterday in an email that I accidentally linked quiz 1 3 times. I will send again in the calendar invite for next week's meeting. All 3 of those quizzes will be linked. But if you go to our website, and our Google site website, and go to the quizzes page, all those quizzes are right here in 2021, 1, 2, and 3 for MA or for MFOA. So please take the time to do the work on your own. Come to the group, bring your rule citations, and we'll have a good discussion about those plays in particular. But I hope you got a lot out of tonight, and I feel pretty good about kicking off a new study group year with this. I hope to see everybody in the future. Thanks for joining us. I'm sticking around for a while if you want to talk about anything, but otherwise, have a tremendous rest of your evening, and I will talk to all of you soon. So thanks, everybody.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.